I kept a blog for several years where I shared my thoughts on very serious topics such as not being able to read your partner's handwriting and finding yourself at the grocery store diligently searching for cream of Sharon soup and cat livers. There was also the entry on my questionable decision to become a social worker, which has provided me with decades of people saying, "Oh, that must be so rewarding," because that's so much more polite than looking at me saying, "I'm sorry you drive a Flintstone mobile." I also offered some thoughts on my later, even more questionable decision to go back to school to get my pastry chef degree. I knew that was trouble when I noticed I was gaining weight, as women of a certain age do. But one of my favorite posts was on the perils of aging and the joy in seeing myself as a bit of a miracle as the years creep up. This whole aging process is a kick. It often leaves me wondering what my body will or won't do next. I am both fascinated and oddly offended by the fact that no one really tells us what to expect as we age. I first became suspicious that aging was sneaking up on me the morning I peeked in the mirror and I noticed that the lines I'd seen on my sister's neck had mysteriously crept into my house and attached themselves to my neck. My next frightening observation came the day I glanced down and saw my father's hands on the steering wheel instead of my own, and I almost caused a 5-car pileup on the tollway. At first, I thought I was stuck in my own episode of Tales from the Crypt, but then I realized, A, I probably read way too much Stephen King as a kid, and B, it was just my new friend, the aging process, making itself known to me in another way. Now, the sleep thing. I can't tell you about the challenges of aging and not talk about this. I have all the energy in the world at 3 a.m. And then I look and feel like something the dogs dragged in at 3 p.m. And I noticed that as my sleep changed, everything got on my nerves. On my last nerve. In fact, it was so bad, my last nerve was writing its advanced directives. Around that time, during a conversation with one of my employees, I found myself thinking, go ahead. Keep talking. I'll rip your lips right off your face. I didn't say it, but just the fact that I was thinking it struck me as odd. I mean, who talks that way to that staff person? She's one of the kindest people on the planet. I did eventually mention these odd occurrences to my doc. She laughed. I was not in a laughing mood personally, given that whole last nerve writing its advanced directives mess. And when she stopped laughing, she announced, "Oh, honey, you don't have to put up with that. I can help you." And that was when I started taking a sleep aid, which created a whole subplot of adventures all by itself. In the truest sense, yes, it does help me sleep. It's what I did while I was sleeping that was of some concern. You may have seen occasional headlines about people saying they did things under the influence of their sleep aid. There is some truth to that. My friends all figured out something was up when they started getting text messages from me at 2 a.m. with absolutely profound messages like, "I like chicken." That first summer on the meds, I went to bed one night, and I woke up about 2 hours later, or at least I thought I was awake. I also thought apparently it was a good idea to go on Facebook. Now, I don't know exactly what I was trying to do, but I ended up going on the page of a new acquaintance. The first person I'd had a crush on following my gay divorce. When you get gay married, you have to get gay divorced. It's kind of a gay rule. I captured one of her photos and reposted it to my page. And I gave it a status update that said, "Feeling fabulous." Mind you, we were not Facebook friends at the time, and I have never in my life used the words "feeling fabulous" as a complete sentence. The next morning, my phone blew up with texts from friends all over the country. "Who's that? Why have you been holding out on us? Who's the chick?" And I'm looking at these messages going, who's who? Holding out about what? What chick? Because knowing the things I normally post on Facebook, we were probably talking about an actual chick. Little, yellow, fuzzy, cheap. You get the picture. I went on Facebook to find out what people were talking about, and my hair caught fire. I couldn't message that new acquaintance fast enough, and I fell all over myself trying to explain to her I was asleep when I did that. The phone needed to sleep in the kitchen after that because it could not be trusted. A few weeks later, a group of folks from my agency went to a 2-day training. Halfway through the first day, the facilitators informed us there will be a meeting for all executive directors at 7:30 on day 2. Oh no, thank you. My job is mostly evenings, and it has been for some years, like 20-some years. I don't do 7:30 meetings. But I looked around the room, and all the other executive directors nodding, yep, they'd be there. And not wanting to be a big baby head, I decided I'll take the hit. I'll have to time when to ingest my sleep aids so it'll be all cleared out and I can be coherent when I go to this meeting. The next morning, I woke up, I showered, I got dressed. I even managed to dress myself like an executive director. I was wearing a suit, for crying out loud. I was on target to get there on time. My last stop was to pop into the bathroom to brush my teeth. And I promptly brushed my teeth with the estrogen cream in my shower kit. I guarantee you it is not minty fresh. And I will have you know, at no time that day did my doctor call me and tell me, "Oh, honey, you don't have to put up with that." We got the unruly necklines. We got the tails from the crypt hands on the steering wheel. We got sleep Facebooking. We got estrogen toothpaste. There is a lot to put up with as we age, and so few of us see that coming. A recent experience brought this all sharply into focus for me. It was about 6 weeks ago. I'd just gotten out of the shower and my phone went off. It was my pain clinic returning my call about rescheduling my appointment, which I'd had to move because I could only get an audiology appointment to get my new hearing aids at the same time, and I'd had to move the original audiology appointment because I was having knee surgery. You can't make this stuff up. But probably the most unfortunate thing of all is what my new friend, the aging process, has done to my hair. Now, I don't mean just that it's gone gray. I can live with that. But I've always had my father's hairline, and his hairline shifted as he aged, invading lower on his temples until it started to fill in, which is the reverse of how I've understood hair is always supposed to behave. And I've noticed mine starting to do that, but it's doing that at the same time my eyebrows are graying out and getting harder to see, while the hairline is more pronounced, and it ends up looking like a stampede of confused fuzzy brown caterpillars fleeing up my temples, with one elderly caterpillar bringing up the rear on either side. Now, older friends have teased me for a while about whether or not I'd grow a beard. I waited for it, but I finally concluded this could be the only trait of my new friend, the aging process, I might not have to deal with. Until that memorable night, I was driving home on 88 and a tractor trailer fell in behind me with those glaring headlights. I had never had a reason to have such glaring light behind me, And now that it was there, I realized I wasn't growing a beard. I was growing fine blonde mutton chops, and when backlit, I could pass for Ambrose Burnside. Or a founding father. There are a lot of things I have aspired to in life. A founding father hairdo was never on that list. And I have considered checking in with my doctor, but I'm really afraid she's going to greet me with, "Oh, Ambrose, you don't have to put up with that." So for now, I will just marvel at this miracle and try to remember that, like many of you, I am an aging carbon-based wonder.